You're about to see why a radar misread, JY-11B merging a carrier group into one ghost, nearly triggered a coastal incident, and how SPY-6 flipped that mistake into a decisive advantage. We'll break down the intercept geometry, the Hudner soft block, and why the Seahawks infrared made every approach undeniable. By the end, you'll know exactly why Ford never had to turn, never had to shout, and still won the night without a shot. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. They run dark and low, throttles pinned, spray kicking off the bows as 6 hulls push past 30 knots. The crews think they've got a single contact dead ahead. One silhouette to box in, warn and embarrass. So why does a modern coastal force chase a ghost at night? Because their picture starts with a lie that looks clean on a scope. In the shore bunker, the Venezuelan commander watches an aging JY-11B coastal radar chew through rough seas. The screen shows one strong return, fat and steady in the clutter. He sees bearing flicker, but no split of targets. No rivulets suggesting a screen of escorts. Automatic gain holds too tight. Side lobes smear out the weaker hits. And the group steaming beyond the horizon stacks its reflections so close that the radar merges them into a single bright blob. AIS offers nothing. The channel is quiet because someone decided to stay quiet. Wakes at that distance look like one long tail. He reads that as a single hull making speed. That's the trap of older two-dimensional sets. Their beams are wide. Their range cells are coarse. Side lobe energy ricochets off waves and spits ghosts into the display. And sea-state clutter near a dense formation washes the edges together. It's like standing under a streetlight at night. The glare is so strong you miss the parked cars tucked behind it. The brightest return wins, and everything else vanishes under it. On paper, the operator could open the scope, run different pulse widths, or switch to a clutter map. In a real room under pressure, with a boss asking for a decision, the hand rides the gain knob until the picture looks stable enough to brief. So the boats commit to an arrowhead. It's a converging line-in that squeezes a single ship from 3 angles and 2 trailing lanes. Against one hull, it forces choices. Does the target turn into the lead element and accept a close pass, or give up sea room to avoid it? But against a layered escort, an arrowhead becomes a funnel of bad options. Each wedge lane can be countered by a blocking ship, and your center element ends up staring at steel with weapons already on bearings. You turn a pressure run into a series of forced merges you don't want. Wake cues at distance make it worse. In low light, a tight, coherent wake reads like one keel moving cleanly. A task group running in a compact column can mimic that, especially when the lead ship masks the churn from those behind. Historical patrol reports out of narrow seas told versions of this same error. Small craft saw a composite smear, guessed wrong about numbers, and rushed a formation that split only when you were already committed. That's how low-fidelity sensors turn confidence into risk. Speed climbs. 32 knots becomes 35. Comms go sparse because every extra word suggests doubt. At that pace, your intercept line starts to lock. To reverse means showing your wake broadside to the horizon and letting the world read retreat. Pride adds weight to the throttles. The decision feels logical from the bunker. The scope says one vessel. AIS is quiet. The wakes look tight. The arrowhead was built for this exact picture. So payoff 1 lands here. The commander believed he faced a single target because the JY-11B merged a carrier group into one strong return under clutter, burying the escorts and inviting a pressure move that looked safe. Now that a ghost set the trap, watch how a different set of eyes, clean, fused, and steady, made the US picture unshakable and turned speed into a disadvantage. If your opponent is charging a ghost, how do you gain control without touching a trigger? You start by refusing to give them a target to push. The Ford group stays in a low-emission posture. The big array listens more than it talks, while passive sensors stack bearings, speed drift, and electronic signatures into a quiet, layered picture. 2 MH-60R Seahawks circle high and wide, their infrared turrets burning through haze and heat shimmer, their surface radar nudging range gates tighter on each boat. Every turn of a propeller leaves a thermal smudge. Every throttle pump leaves a sharper wake. The strike group records it all. The boats close fast, angles tightening by the minute. On a chart, the easy choice is to swing the carrier away and give them water. That buys space but concedes narrative. Or you hold a steady line that looks risky on paper and make them solve your geometry. The bridge weighs both paths, then keeps the needle set. If the data is clean, you don't flinch at speed. You let the math carry the load. SPY-6 begins to fuse. Raw radar returns remain in the stack, but now they get cross-checked with ESMQs, wake phase, and bearing rate. A helo's IR track confirms each hull number by behavior: who surges out of line, who slackens, who hunts for a wider lane. Digital beamforming pairs back sea clutter. The fusion engine trims uncertainty until each contact shows a real course, a real speed change, and a forecasted position minute by minute. You are not guessing at a blob. You are tracking 6 distinct boats with behavior fingerprints. Now the geometry shifts. USS Thomas Hudner adds turbines and slides across the intercept line. Bow canted just enough to own the gap. It's a soft block, not a charge. The destroyer doesn't lunge. It draws a narrow corridor and waits for the first boat to blink. That single move forces a decision the boats can't avoid. Commit to a squeeze with the destroyer on your nose, or angle off and admit the run is over. The carrier stays on heading, steady RPM, no drama. Non-verbal signals do the rest. The Mark 45 rotates a few degrees toward the incoming wakes and stops. CIWS mounts him in passive track, sending quiet data to the combat system without spinning up. The radios say nothing new. Presence does the talking. Even the Seahawks hold their altitude and pattern, making a constant, visible record. Any last-second surge now has an author and a timestamp. Here's why that restraint works. Data integrity backs risk. When fusion collapses the error bars, commanders trade away evasive turns for precise positioning. You reduce the chance of surprise, so a calm heading carries less danger than it seems. The crew trusts the track file because it is built from multiple types of truth. Radio frequency sniffing, infrared motion, surface returns, and the wakes themselves. The picture doesn't wobble when the sea does. The mini-sequence writes itself. A helo calls a slight speed rise on the left flank. SPY-6 confirms the bearing rate change, then projects the intercept point against Hudner's bow. The flanker checks throttle, wake narrows, and the arrowhead begins to fray. Another boat drifts wide to scout a second lane, only to see the corridor stay firm and short. With every minute, escalation looks costly and unattractive. Payoff 2 lands here. SPY-6 delivered a non-negotiable edge in clarity. The Ford held course. Hudner enforced a corridor without firing. The Seahawks recorded every twitch. The boats peeled away because the math boxed them in and left no clean win. The lesson isn't politics. It's what happens when one side's picture stays clean while the other starts with a ghost. The standoff ended without warning shots because one side owned the truth of the battlespace while the other chased a merged return. Superior sensing, discipline, and steady geometry removed doubt and drained momentum. Presence replaced threats. Control came from clarity, and clarity came from fused data that didn't wobble when the sea did. If you value breakdowns where data, geometry, and discipline decide outcomes, subscribe and tell us in the comments. Would you have held the line? Your call says a lot about how you read risk. Next time we move into denser air defenses and coastal missiles, when the ghost isn't on radar but in the sky.